Hello again. It's been a couple weeks, I think, since I posted my last video. I've been hard at work up here on the hill, and I figured today is a good day to give you an update. Things already look a little bit different, as you can see. If I only had a nickel for every time I've climbed this hill. Here's what she's starting to look like. The basement is complete. I got the stairs in the other day, which is a big help because I'm lugging the saw up today. I was just lugging lumber up, getting ready to frame my first upper wall. I was just laying out a master bathroom and a closet and a laundry room before I started videoing. This end of the deck is the future living room, and it's not the greatest mountain view, but it'll probably get better come fall, but I don't think I have much to complain about. It's taken a little while to get this far. It's just me up here on the hill, and boy, we had a heat wave and it was hot, and I got kind of sunstroked one day and had to go to bed. But I'm happy to say this part is done, and I'm looking forward to getting those walls up. Now remember, this is a monolithic slab, one pour, which incorporated the footings and the floor. And we stacked the blocks dry and used Saccrete quick wall, and then we filled the blocks with concrete and rebar every 30 inches on the back wall and every 4 feet on the side walls. And it appears to be very, very strong. Total cost for the entire foundation project was $5,000. We have $1,000 in so far into the walls up there, and that deck cost me $2,000. So we're in the hole right now for $8,000. Well, today it's kind of raining on me, and I'm trying to get as much work done as I can while the water falls out of the sky. I thought I'd show you my progress today. Today I'm laying out walls. I have the front 32-foot wall framed, and then I'm working on the half of the right side and half of the left today. My plan had been to get them stood up today, but the weather's not cooperating with me. Had a late start because it was pouring. Well, good morning. Here we are 2 days later. Let me show you my progress and my project for the day. My project for today is to frame the remaining walls and get them erected. And then, because of a building boom, I'm going to have to design and build my own trusses because I can't get factory-made ones for about 4 weeks. Here we are after completing all 4 walls. It's another beautiful morning this morning. Let's go take a look at my first roof truss. My first truss is a scissor truss, and I've mocked up my first one And all these parts just become the pattern for the parts I'm going to crank out downstairs and then assemble up here and lift into place. Well, my lumber finally showed up, and this pile is a lot smaller than it was. This is what it looks like after a good day of cutting. Stacks of gussets and all the parts for all the scissor trusses. I have another project I've started. My youngest son has a piece of land and he's going to be homesteading too. So in between this project, I head over to my boys and we have the driveway cut in, and we were just plotting how we were going to excavate the site for his very first homestead. Well, I have assembled my first truss and everything worked as planned. The plates are glued with a high-strength glue and nailed as well. And here's the first one I've dropped into my form. I drop all the pieces in place. I add one screw per joint to hold everything nice and tight. And then I'll lay out my gussets, apply glue, and we'll have number 2. My wife says at my current rate, I'm cranking out a truss every 25 minutes. Today, I am assembling my gable end truss, and then I will begin installing these things up on the wall. I'm going to go ahead and sheathe the outside of that gable end, and I'm going to install my vent all at the same time to save me from getting up on a ladder. Okay, we have the gable end done, Tyvek and all, but it's a bit heavier than we expected. Let me show you my precarious position. Alright, so I got the lovely ladies hanging on to this thing. We actually can't lift it, it's too heavy. So we're working on getting it up, or at least both the wings there, each on top of the wall, so we can flip it up. Well, we got it up, but it weren't easy. Man, that sucker is heavy. Whoo! Now we got to flip it over and get it vertical and level. Okay, 1, 2, pull. Okay, it's going. Easy. Now go real easy. Real easy, real easy, real easy. Okay, I'm letting go.
Okay.
All right, we got one scissor truss up. There it is.
Woohoo!
And we're about to go for number 2, and then hopefully number 3, and so forth. Well, it's 7 o'clock, and Grandma and Grandpa are pooped. We've got 4 scissor trusses up, and 5, including the end, which was exceedingly heavy. And we are done for the day, and
It's time for food.
yes, my wife says it's time for food, and I agree. Well, it's a lovely morning this morning. I'm walking up the hill to show you my new trusses I'm building. I was busy yesterday cutting gussets and parts for the new trusses. And here is a sneak peek of my new truss. These are called attic trusses. I designed this to give me a nice storage space up in the attic. Normally, trusses are so filled with cross members that any space above is useless. Well, as you can see, eventually this will give me a nice storage room upstairs. Okay, we have finished building the attic trusses. This morning we made the gable end truss, and this is my construction crew who is ready to lift this heavy beast onto the roof. Okay, might have flip a little. Go ahead, do it around. Okay, until this hits the wall. Okay, keep going. Okay, it's on the wall. Okay, okay. You did it! Okay! You did it!
Really, all you can raise.
You did it! We're up. Not quite even, but we're up. Woo! Well, we got a couple of trusses up, and only a few left to go. Let me show you. There's the attic trusses up. All right. Going up. You guys got it. Okay. Okay, kick it out, babe. Okay, with the balance point. Like a gentle butterfly. Nice. Nice job. Well, now that the basic frame of the house is up, floor, walls, and roof trusses, before I get on to putting on the roof, to save labor and aggravation later, I'm going to do the trim on the gable ends and the soffits before I put the plywood up there. Then I can work from inside the house and just lean over the gable end. It's much safer, and I'm not on a tall ladder. Let me show you what I'm doing. Using the same lines and kind of a jig I used to make the trusses, I am assembling the trim for the gable ends, cutting the angles, getting the lengths right, and then I am pre-assembling the entire thing, having it ready to install with 2 coats of primer. And by the way, here's a quick peek at those attic trusses we were putting up the other day. I have a nice loft. I've already installed 3/4 inch plywood on the floor, and it gives me a nice place to work off of to do the trim on the gable ends. So here is the trim on the gable end in place. The shadow boards look nice. We are very pleased with it. I don't know what I'm going to do when I'm on the next trusses and I can't stand here, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, the hat is great until you're trying to climb through tiny places.
it's always good to have someone available to sharpen your pencil when your lead breaks.
You know what would be smart? Nail a board across the bottom edge of the roof.
Have it?
Well, I'm on break. It's been a productive morning. I've got a new hairstyle going. But we've got half the roof done, and it's about 2:30 in the afternoon, so I couldn't have done it without my ladies. Wicker and snot on the doorknob. We got the sheathing up on the roof. It was a little bit of work, but there she is, all done. And yesterday the shingles were delivered. We carried most of them up so they would be ready for the other side, and in the afternoon I worked on this homemade scaffolding system just out of some 2x4 8-footers and some 2x4 16s and 2 sheets of 3/4 OSB cut in half to give me a sturdy 2-foot wide platform to work off of. That's one of the next projects. I think the girls are going to help me out with that. The acoustics got better in here, and it's looking pretty neat. More like a house, I guess. My homemade scaffolding worked out really well, and as you can see behind me, we put it to good use. We got a little bit more than halfway up the roof yesterday. One of my boys came up and gave me a hand, and that sure helped a lot. Well, this morning I'm going to try and finish up this side and a few other odds and ends, and then we'll move the scaffolding to the other side. I got the soffit installed on the back side, a second coat of primer on the trim, and 98% of the back side of the roof. I've moved the scaffolding to the scary side of the house where death will occur if I go off. I'm thinking about adding some more of those 16-footers and make a little safety railing, but I don't know. So tomorrow we'll be off to the races, roofing the last side. Jake and I were just finishing up the peak of the roof, and we got the ridge vent on. And take a look outside. Well, it's raining, and Jake and I are dry. Jake's cutting up all the 3-tab shingles to make our ridge cap. Let it rain. Well, that's got to be it for this video. I went from decking the foundation right up through the walls and the roof and even the trim up there in just under 6 weeks. I put in some long days and I'm pretty happy with the results. And now I'm finishing off things downstairs, and I'll see you next time for an update of where I'm at. This is the cherry fiddle, which is the last one I made, and the first fiddle I made in Tennessee. Little song for the new house.